Hey guys, this is Ryan Bruckner, member of Team DDG, and you're listening to Dead Draw Gaming, like no one ever was.
What's up, Dead Drawers, and welcome to episode number 76 of Dead Draw Gaming, a Pokemon TCG podcast like no one ever was. We have a super exciting episode for you guys today, so if you are hyped just like we are, make sure to hit that like button down below and share this podcast with all of your friends. But first, you guys, before we get too far into things today, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to my co-host who is with me this week and every other week. His name is Danny. Danny, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing really good. I'm pretty fantastic. Unfortunately, it's just me and Dan this week. Darren will be back next week, and I'm sure he is doing just peachy, but he had other things that he had to take care of, so we wish him all the best in those things, and Dan and I will run the show. Other than that, there's not a whole lot going on for me. Just been really, really busy playing with Pokemon cards, because that's what I do. I play with Pokemon cards.
Jeez, I want to do that.
I play with a lot of Pokemon cards all the time.
It's kind of the job description, though, right?
I mean, that's literally all it says on my resume. It doesn't even have my name on it. I hand it to companies, and all it is a piece of paper that says, I play with Pokemon cards. I'm surprised I haven't gotten more job offers.
Yeah, I would hire
actually.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well. It's just sort of been pretty grindy week as far as some of like the PR stuff goes. I've reached out to a lot of people about a lot of things, and we got a lot of exciting moving parts, which we maybe will talk a little bit about today once we get towards the end of the episode, and just a lot of exciting stuff going on. And also, Team DDG absolutely killed it in Charlotte this last weekend, which we're also going to talk about a little bit. So I'm very excited for this episode. And you want to hear about all the rest of the stuff we're going to talk about?
Absolutely.
I see what you did there. Anyways, you guys, we are going to start you off the same way we do every other week with some Pokemon news. Then we're going to jump into the Charlotte recap and the Portland preview. We're going to do both of those this week since we got back-to-back weekends with Pokemon. Then we are going to get into a hot topic in Pokemon, and that one is witch hunting. All about when is the right time to call out someone who you believe is cheating. Then we are going to do our top 5, which will be cards that we will miss when Standard rotates coming up in September. Then we will do our question of the week, our buy sale trade of the week, our open discussion, and our wrap. So I will pass it on over to Danny and let him talk about all of the non-TCG news that we have this week.
Yeah, so there's quite a bit of it, and I guess I'll kind of fill in here for Darren since there is some Pokemon Go news, even though I don't really play well. He's much better at Pokemon Go than I am, but there's some decent-sized news that's going on. So looks like it has been confirmed that Lugia is to return to raid battles in Pokemon Go from, I think it started last week Friday, and it's going to run until April 2nd, which is the day after April Fool's Day and Easter. With this, it will also know the move Sky Attack, a move it lists as being newly improved. And then they went on this is from Cerebi, it went on with a little bit of an update. Rayquaza has now left raid battles, and Lugia will be starting to appear in raid battles globally in Pokemon Go. Sky Attack has received an increase in damage output from 70 to 80. With all Pokemon knowing Sky Attack getting the boost, Lugia is in raid battles until April 2nd. So there you go. Also, Niantic have confirmed that they are including multiple account linking in the near future. Now you can link a Facebook and Google account up to Pokemon Go and log in through either of those, as well as the Pokemon Trainer Club account, letting you log in with any of the three. I think I just did, when I first signed up, I think I did an email. I know that there was a bunch of glitches when it first came out. I think I did my Gmail account.
I don't remember any of that. That was a long time ago, so I have no idea.
It was a long time ago. Cool. All right, so that's Pokemon Go news. Dan, hopefully, did you get your Rayquaza?
Nope.
Okay. Well, it'll maybe come back eventually.
I mean, it's not like it's gone forever. I definitely didn't get it when I wanted to get it, but...
Oh, brand new update. This just got released. Rayquaza will never come back to Pokemon Go. There it is. Sorry. That's not true. Okay.
At least the breaking news is coming out as we're recording and not,
Exactly.
right after.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on, we do have quite a bit of, well, not quite a bit, but a decent amount of non-TCG related news. So we're going to move on to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon Battle Competition. Registration for the next battle competition has begun. This is the 2018 International Challenge March competition. This is a double battle competition using standard VGC rules, with players being able to earn CP to go towards qualification for the World Championships. All Pokemon will be raised to level 50 for the duration of the competition. Registration runs from March 15th, 2018 to March 22nd, 2018. Battles will run from March 23rd through March 25th. All entrants will get 50 battle points. In addition to this allows players to earn championship points to go towards a place in the World Championships. Dan, I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but do you think, would it be cool if they let like PTCGO for people who can't travel as much, if they let tournaments like that kind of happen for points?
Oh, man. So I have very mixed feelings about it as far, I think that for starters, for video game, this is absolutely great. Something that can be done online and has been done online for so incredibly long. It's a good time, to be able to get championships points for the video game without actually having to travel to an event. Now, with the TCG, I definitely have mixed feelings. I personally believe that how do I word this correctly? I don't think that they should have PTCGO tournaments right now that give out championship points. And if there were those PTCGO tournaments that gave out championship points, they needed to be a very limited number, right? Keep the threshold the same, but you can't get more than let's say 50 championship points. So let's say one tournament win from PTCGO tournaments. And it needs to be a limited number. It's not, because I feel like part of the thing with Pokemon is you go to the World Championships, right? I guess that maybe that would change with online to where you're competing for World, so you should be able to play with and beat players from around the world. But I guess if you're playing online, you're already doing that.
Yeah, see, my thing is what if they did raise the threshold up to, let's say, 500, and did it where you could get a maximum of 25 points per quarter? So then it would basically still be the same 400 threshold here, but that would entice people to actually start getting points, which could be more of a tangible thing, which would make them want to kind of chase, well, I've already got, 50 points from these tournaments.
See, I don't know, because a lot of the things that go into the TCG is it's not cheating necessarily, but it's mind games, right? There are things that you can do, when you're sitting down across from your opponent face to face, that you can't do in an online setting. And there's micro decisions that I feel would be a lot different. And I don't know. I mean, so we'll talk about this a little bit later, but this would definitely eliminate a lot of the cheating, if not all of it. But I'm not definitely against the idea. However, I think that if it's the way of the future or whatever, that TBCI severely needs to change PTCGO and make it not less user friendly, but more competitive friendly, if that makes sense.
And less buggy. There's still always a lot of bugs with PTCGO.
Oh yeah, and people will exploit them constantly,
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is what do you do if a player loses their internet connection in the middle of a match or something, How do you ensure that matches are finished on time without, you tell how do let's say that your opponent continually tells you hey, I can't, sorry, reschedule, it gets to the end, and then your opponent says, well, no, he couldn't do it. Okay, well, what do you do? I mean, it seems like there are way too many things that could go wrong. Again, I'm not over against the idea. There's definitely a lot of things that would need to be asked, and a lot of things that would need to be for sure able to be taken care of before like making such a big change.
I completely agree. All right, well, let's keep going here. So, for those of you in North America, the codes for the second month of the Legendary Pokemon Year events have begun to be sent out. These codes come in the Trainer Club newsletter, and each email only provides one code. Players will be able to get a Regigigas in Pokemon Sun and Ultra Sun or Heatran in Pokemon Moon and Ultra Moon. These distributions differ between Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, with the Pokemon being level 60 in Sun and Moon and level 100 holding a gold bottle cap in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So that's pretty cool. I think I've got one other thing here. Oh, two other things yet. So first of all, the Detective Pikachu update. Further stores have been revealed for the distribution of the Detective Pikachu. As far as its 3DS theme goes in North America, if you buy the game at GameStop, Best Buy, or Amazon in North America, Game in the UK, or by the eShop in North America and Europe, you will receive the special code to redeem the 3DS theme. If you're going to get Detective Pikachu. I don't think I will. It doesn't have.
I probably won't either. However, I did start playing video game again.
Which one?
Pokemon Crystal.
Oh, that's not.
I picked it up on the eShop, and yeah, I saw other people streaming it, and I was like, gosh, this is super fun.
It's a great game. It's just not the game I anticipated you playing.
Yeah. I spent about an hour headbutting trees looking for Heracross earlier. Update, did not find one.
Thought maybe you'd play Ultra Sun.
Maybe someday.
Last thing is a global mission update. This one is depressing. The 5th Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon global mission has finished in a failure. I think this is the first time we failed in quite a while. This global mission's theme was to trade Pokemon on the GTS and was a failure at only 771,567 Pokemon traded. As it was a failure, the gift of 1,000 festival coins or 2,000 festival coins if the game is connected to a global link account is now available. So there you go. There's your non-TCG news for the week. We can move into the different big TCG-related news, which is always a little bit more fun for me because I know a heck of a lot more about the TCG than I do about the VGC.
The big TCG?
Or the Pokemon Go-y. So there we go. Dan, what do we got?
So with the big TCG news, are you talking about the Champion Road booster box reveals more EX era prints?
I mean, I was just talking about TCG news in general, but that is really cool.
Oh, yeah. So what it says here is that we got the picture of one of the booster boxes coming out. So it's showing some more artwork from cards that were released in the EX Ruby and Sapphire era, showing Ludicolo from EX Deoxys, Lantern from EX Hidden Legends, and Sableye from EX Crystal Guardians. On the box, we are also seeing pictures of Feraligatr, Scizor, Blaziken, Salamence, Banette, Slaking, Mr. Mime, and Dunsparce. Oh, and Electrode alongside those that we haven't already seen. So super neat here. If we get a Feraligatr GX, I'm going to be extremely happy. So, man, I just ooh. I need
or a Primeape GX.
Yeah, it's still possible someday.
There was never a Primeape GX that existed, so if it's going to be more of a reprint, I highly doubt it's going to happen. It needs to be a brand spanking new Primeape.
Yeah, or Strike and Run Dunsparce coming back.
Or Strike and Run Dunsparce.
I would take that in place of a Primeape.
I would
personally.
not. That's the difference between me and you. Your head's just not in the right place when it comes to the monkeys. He's a monkey with boxing gloves.
All right, yeah, you got me.
Much better than that. All right, we're going to move on. Let's talk about Flint, which is a card that is coming out in Dragon Storm. It's an item card. You discard 2 cards from your hand in order to play this card. You can search your deck for up to 4 fire energy, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. So there you go, Flint. I don't know if I will ever use this card.
I don't know. Maybe cool in Volcania. I don't know.
Yeah, Volcanion, you could use it.
But
Something with
even then,
Magnezone, maybe.
You're already playing so much energy. Like
Magnezone Ho-Oh.
What?
Can't you do Magnezone Ho-Oh?
Why? What do you need Magnezone for?
Because then you can attach as many energy as you want, right?
That's only metal energy, though.
Oh, that's right. That's not going to help you at all, is it?
But
Metal and fire are
I like
different?
where your head's at. You could use Embor. And
Is there an
Expanded.
Embor? Okay, and expanded.
Inferno Fandango. Or Fandango.
Yeah, I guess Volcanion would be the only thing that really comes to mind where you could abuse this a little bit.
Yeah, because even Ho, Kiawe is obviously better.
Yeah,
So
with Volcanion you could help you out with those steam ups.
Well, we got so this I guess is not anything super new, but we are one of the pre-release, or maybe this isn't a pre-release promo, just a regular promo. There's a booster box promo in Altaria that's going to be in Japan. New artwork, got the thing on it. It's actually really cool art. I like it a lot.
I do like the art. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, the card
Maybe
itself.
it was last week. 2 weeks ago, yeah.
But the card itself, yeah. I thought there was going to be more to that, and there's not, so I am sorry. Did we ever talk about Ultra Space?
I don't think we did.
Okay. Well, Ultra Space is a stadium card that reads, once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for an Ultra Beast card, reveal it, put it into their hand, and shuffle their deck. So this is good for Ultra Beast cards, I guess, and Ultra Beast decks.
Yeah, I mean, this would come in handy for a lot of the mill decks that people are playing right now with Ho-Oh, if they want to, or with Ho-Oh, with Hoopa, going in and finding a Pheromosa, or what else do they play? Xurkitree.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to go in and find that as a stadium. I don't even think that they play stadiums currently, do they? In those mill decks?
Maybe parallel. I guess I'm not 100% certain on that. Let's see. One of them got 13th place.
Did he play in Ultra Space?
I don't think he played in Ultra Space. I'm looking at the list. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum. No. Well, one Reverse Valley and one Parallel City. But this was also it was a mill deck, but it was like an attacking mill because it did play 9 Dark Energy and 4 DCE and max elixirs.
Wow, I didn't even look at that list. That's insane.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. Got top 16. So there's
Did
that.
he win more games, do you think, on deck outs or on drawing all of his prizes?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
Interesting.
I'd be interested to find out, though.
The good thing about Ultra Space is that it doesn't segregate between an Ultra Beast GX or an Ultra Beast non-GX, which is kind of cool.
Right.
So you can go and pull something that's not necessarily a GX.
Yeah, no, that's super neat. I like that quite a bit.
If they ever print a good Ultra Beast card that's not a GX.
Yeah, right. Well, you have... Yeah, nope. All right, I lost myself.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think of anything yet. I can't think of one.
Neither. No, I don't think we've seen one yet. So, another somewhat exciting thing is we did get the first images from the Forbidden Light 3-pack blisters, which will feature a reprint of Garbodor from Guardians Rising. So we're not going to see... Well, I don't know how to word this. More Trashalanche.
I do like the art on that
It's
Garbodor.
fantastic.
Yeah. Looks really cool. I'm surprised that they're decided Garbodor because usually they choose something not playable whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
Except for the case of Vikavolt, which ended up being playable. Otherwise, usually it's hey, here's a Porygon for you.
Yeah, right.
Or something bad.
Yep.
I actually made the our little graphic today. We started accepting pre-orders for Forbidden Light. I thought you would be excited about the graphic that I made.
I liked it a lot. Sorry,
Because I chose
guess
3 cards, and the one that was front and center was your full art Wake.
Mm-hmm. Crasher Wake, best gym
Yep.
leader.
And I was like, I'll do this for Dan. Why not?
Oh, thank you.
So I'll put the pre-orders up on the website pretty soon, probably within the next couple days. Maybe even by the time you're listening to this, you'd have to go check. But we're starting to accept pre-orders now. Comes out May 4th, which if you talk to anybody who enjoys Star Wars, they'll be like, oh, it comes out on Star Wars Day? Because I've already gotten that comment several times.
Mm.
I'm like, yep, sure does. We also got Fairy Rise.
Fairy Rise.
Fairy Rise has been announced. It's a new mini set. Comes out on August 3rd. In Japan, the set will contain 50 plus cards focusing on fairy, grass, and psychic types. This is in the same way that SM6A Dragon Storm contains 50 plus cards focusing on dragon, fire, and water type. Charisma of the Wrecked Sky is Japan's main SM7 set and will release on June 1st. Its mascot is Rayquaza.
Take those. Best mascot. 2K18.
Or Wake.
Can it be... Why can't
it be a Wake riding a Rayquaza?
Yeah, right? Best.
That would be amazing for you.
Yes. I mean, for everyone, really. For, like, who wouldn't be okay with that?
I think that's it for TCG news. I think that's it for news this week.
I don't got anything else.
Awesome. All right. Well, we can digress and move on to bigger and better things.
Like Charlotte Regionals that just happened this last weekend.
Charlotte Regionals did just happen. First of all, before we even get into the event, one thing I do want to say is I feel like the bar has been set extremely high. The Battle Factory put on the stream for Charlotte, and they did a fantastic job, I thought. The commentary was very good. Their layout was fantastic. The commercials that they had in between they were stunning. Like the camera setup was good. They had prize cams, which was nice. It seemed like literally everything that we have talked about doing was something that they had done.
Yeah,
it was great.
Chat got leaked somehow.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
They had little segments about content creators. I don't know what their deal was with that and how that all worked out, but it was some really good stuff. So it was enjoyable to watch. I hope that they are able to continue to do streams that we connect to.
Yeah, definitely.
But there was a card game that happened during it.
And that card game, something super interesting here. We had a top 8 that only contained 25% Zoroark decks, which means only 2.
That's so random.
Yeah, but we did have 3 Buzzwole Lycanrocs, 1 Greninja, 1 Zoroark Gardevoir, 1 Glaceon Zoroark, 1 Sylveon, and 4 Buzzwole Lycanrocs. And then 1 Greninja piloted by Team DDG's Joey Rudiger, who ended up getting 3rd. So congrats to him. The whole event was won by Ryan Sablehouse playing Buzzwole Lycanroc, and the runner-up was Alex Shemansky playing Buzzwole Lycanroc.
Yeah, 3 of the top 4. Joey was the only one playing Greninja, and he actually did pretty well with Greninja versus Buzzwole Lycanroc for most of the tournament. Joey actually finished day 1 9-0. 9-0.
Mm-hmm.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
Then he went into day 2. Did really well. Made it to top 8, obviously, but made it to top 4. Couldn't finish it off. When I was talking to him, he said he dead drew a little bit in top 4. I know he took one of the 3 games, but wasn't able to close it all out. And his list for Greninja was a very vanilla list. It there wasn't like a secret surprise tech. It was just a meta call. And we had some other players at least one other who played Greninja, got some points with it too. Ended up getting, Jamie was on stream and going against Josh Marking, and ended up getting cornered in game 3, which is, if you don't know what corner is, the Rockruff from Guardians Rising, its first attack is corner, And basically, what corner means is that the defending Pokemon cannot retreat. There's no way to retreat it. And the list that a lot of Greninja players play does not have a Guzma or an escape rope or anything like that. So when Game 3 happened and Jamie started his Espeon EX, which is not the card you want to start.
No.
And Josh was able to start his corner Rockruff. Jamie went first, had no way out of the active position, and just ended up scooping because he's like, well, I'm not going to put everybody through 20 minutes of draw pass while my Espeon just gets stuck active. That's terrible. I can't. Ugh. That is not the way to go.
No. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what you can do that. Like, what do you do to that? I don't know. It's nuts. But speaking of Team DDG, literally everybody that went, except, well, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 team members get points this weekend out of 12 that went.
Yeah, that's a strong showing out of almost 1,000 masters. And 2 of them made day 2. Chris Sayakala also made 2 with a Zoroark Lycanroc build.
Yeah, and then Joey
Did he finish
obviously
top
getting
16?
3. He got 21st. So
21st.
just out.
That's rough when you have 30 points and it's only good for 21st.
Yeah, 30 points used to be, auto top 8. So our team, kind of a neat little thing here, I think, went an overall 68, 29, and 19.
With 18 of those 19 ties going to Caleb. Just kidding, Caleb.
He only had 3.
Yeah, I think he started out, though, 2-0-3 or something like that. So he had a 1-0-3. He had a lot of ties right away.
But Joey further making sure he stays in top 16 for North America. And last week I kind of joked around when I said, do we expect anything less from Joey than top 8? And well, I guess now we
he went and did better.
Yeah, now we gotta expect top 4 from him for Portland. So
yeah, he went internationals in Oceania, took second, losing to Tord, and this is his 3rd regional since then. Made top 8 in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So he is on top of the North American Pokemon world right now.
Yeah.
As far as being a first-year master who's just kind of tearing up the competition.
Oh, absolutely.
Performing extremely well. Good for him. Really enjoy seeing success from the team. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I do also like the top 8 meta. It was very heavily favored to Buzzwole, which can be somewhat expected with all the Zoroark that's going to be running around. But it seemed, when you go into it, you expect to see a lot of Zoroark and you expect to see a lot of Buzzwole, but you definitely don't expect to see a top 8 made of, so there's 5 of them, but there's a Glaceon build in there, there's a Greninja build in there, and there's a Sylveon build in there.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think kind of gives the format hope that, hey, maybe there's other stuff that can be played that's not just Zoroark or Buzzwole.
Definitely, and there was a lot of interesting things that made day 2, not just top 8. We had an offensive version of Hoopa make top 8, which we talked a little bit about earlier. Played a lot of energies, max elixir is pretty crazy. There was finally, I guess I shouldn't say finally, but there was a Duskmane, Necrozma, and Magnezone list that made it. There was actually 2 Hoopa. There was a Wob Hoopa list that made it. A few Zoroark counter energy lists. Another Sylveon, another Glaceon. Just, different things, which some cool things. How Vikabulu made it. But even in day 2, lots of Lycanroc, lots of Buzzwole, lots of Zoroark, and lots of Golisopod. Those are easily the top 4 cards. Now, do you remember what 5 months ago or so when we were complaining that the only good deck in the format was Gardevoir?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's nice to see that it's not Gardevoir anymore, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed in Ultra Prism coming out and nothing changing.
Yeah, Gardevoir still has a place in the format, obviously, with Gardevoir Zoroark doing well. And it did have some decent showings, I think, this weekend, but it hasn't done. It's just crazy to see how the difference between the meta is from here versus, abroad, for example, where obviously Tord and his group played Gardevoir Zoroark and did an outstanding job with it to the point where they won Oceania.
Well, okay. Speaking of, Tord also won the special event this weekend over in Europe.
This time it was with Zoroark Gliscopod, right?
I believe so. Let me go look real quick.
I think there was also a Duskmane that it was either top 8 or top 4.
Yeah, so Tord won with Zoroark Gliscopod beating Stefan Weber, who was playing Duskmane, Necrozma, Solgaleo, Prism Star. I don't think he was playing Magnezone. And then the top 8 at that tournament rounded out with Sylveon, Zoroark Gliscopod, Zoroark Gardevoir, Buzz Garbodor, Zoroark Weavile, and Volcanion.
Volcanion just won't go away.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few high-placing Volcanions from Sprague, so maybe, why does Volcanion do well over there versus doing well over here? I wonder, is there more Garb over here? Does Volcanion, do more people play it over there? It's it's something that I think is pretty interesting to think about. But, again, like I said, just Tord. What an animal.
Yeah, we also saw, Gustavo Wada, he played Volcanion here and was able to do really well with it.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that at?
That was in Collinsville, where he ended up getting, I think, 8th. So top 8 with it. But that's still pretty crazy, I think, I think that's the only top 8 we've had with Volcanion, at least since Gardevoir came out. So Crimson Invasion, which is quite a while.
Yeah. Crimson Invasion, best card, Buzzwole, the only card, Buzzwole.
Basically. Counter Energy, Guzma, just other things that, they don't make decks, but
Guzma was in Burning Shadows.
That's what I said.
That is what you said.
Yep.
Well, congratulations to Ryan Sablehouse. Congratulations to Team DDG. Congratulations to everybody who made it. Congratulations to the Battle Factory for putting on a good stream.
Yes, absolutely.
But I don't think we have anything else we really need to say about Charlotte. Actually, let's talk about the event, because I do want to talk about the event a little bit here and just say it does not sound like things went really well.
So, yeah, absolutely. There was a ton of just negative feedback about the event going and coming out of the weekend, even during the weekend as it was happening. I'm not going to sit here and go into detail about a lot of it because it's all speculation. I read everything that there was to read about the event. All I can say is that there are very clearly good TOs and bad TOs, and this doesn't happen to the good ones.
Yeah, it does seem like there were some issues with pairings, and the day one went extremely long. It seemed like the venue had a little bit of issues here, where maybe a better venue could have been chosen, or better ideas could have been chosen behind the venue, whatever the case may be. I will say a good thing was that the organizers did pay out, continue top 32 prizing on. I think there was 34 people that qualified for day 2, so 33 and 34 did get the same prizing as what 32nd got, which is pretty cool.
Yep, and I do like that. I'm not going to sit here and disagree that, that's super cool, and it's a step in the right direction, and that is a good thing that the organizer did. And I did read about a lot of other cool things that the organizer did, but these are the kinds of things that when you go into an event, I feel like the good TOs, if there's any way that anything could be a problem, they either have it fixed right away or they fix it before it even happens. And just from what I've been, what I can tell, this event had no way of like just no way of really like understanding or like trying to fix things. They just kept going. They just let the fire burn hotter instead of putting water on it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff, and I know that there can be excuses that anybody can make, but I've talked about excuses before. Like, there's always proper planning that can be taken care of. I know that Charlotte may have been bigger than what was originally anticipated, but you knew a week before when there was already 700-800 people registered that it was going to be a big event. And the community can be ruthless at times, so you want to make sure that things are going off without a hitch.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looks like there was some areas that need to be shored up, assuming Charlotte has an event next year. And I mean, we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's. I guess we'll see. But anyways, regional tournaments. We have Portland coming up this weekend.
We do have Portland coming up, another tournament.
This one's standard also, right?
I have honestly no idea. I think so. Yes. I don't know. I just assumed, I guess, that it was expanded because they seem to flip-flop so much, but I don't know.
Standard.
There you go.
All right. So Portland being standard again, do we really expect, like, is the meta going to be any different? Do we take anything that we learned this weekend in Charlotte and apply it to Portland being literally 7 days away? Or do we just say, you know what, people are literally not going to change anything. They're going to do the same as they did before, and nothing new is going to come of the event?
I think we are entering a completely new meta all of a sudden, possibly, because out of nowhere, within 1 week, there's one card that becomes legal that wasn't legal last week that could change the scope of a lot of people's plays.
I forgot about this. So forget everything I just said. But
yeah,
continue
because Lucario GX becomes legal this week. And for those of you who don't know what Lucario GX does, basically it has its first attack is Aura Strike, which does 30 plus. So if this and it's only one fighting energy. So if this Pokemon evolved from Riolu during this turn, it does 90 more damage. So you are literally one-hit KOing Zoroark GXs for one fighting energy, assuming you played an Acerola or evolved into Lucario GX on this turn. And that could maybe slow down Zoroark even more if you partner this up with, let's say, Lycanroc, and you... What is Lycanroc? Bloodthirsty Eyes?
Yes.
Out a Zoroark GX. You're hitting it for 120, 150 with a choice band against something like a Buzzwole or something like that. Definitely puts it in range for a fairly easy knockout moving forward. So Lucario definitely does bring up some disadvantages for a lot of those Zoroark Dark decks that are out there. So then you have to ask yourself, what am I doing? A lot of the interesting things last week with the Buzzwole decks is a lot of Buzzwole decks ran Mew from Fates Collide, which I think Buzzwole may see even more play coming up this week because you start that Mew, or you put that Mew in there, then you can one-shot these Lucarios or, put some heavy damage on these Lucarios pretty easily. But you're going to want to one-hit KO them pretty well because I assume that most Lucario GX decks are going to play a pretty thick line of Acerola to just kind of scoop up a lot of damage and then just take advantage of that first attack because that's where the money is going to be at. So I think the meta is going to be different. I think that there's going to be a lot of hype between Lucario GX. And speaking as a vendor, I assume this just based on sales and how sold out Lucario GX is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to get Lucario GX, you either pay a ridiculous amount on eBay, let's say $12, $13 for a copy of it, or you go to the store and buy a box for $17, and then you get the code card, the Lucario, and the packs that are inside. But our distributors have been sold out of these boxes for a couple weeks now. Basically, since they first came out, they had their initial shipment in, and I think they've been basically on back order since then. So I know that it's been a very heavily ordered card or ordered box, which means a lot of people have copies in their hands already. So if you're a good player, you have to think, am I playing Lucario or am I playing to combat Lucario? Like, what's more important going into Portland? Is it going to be that big of a difference?
Oh man, yeah, I really forgot about Lucario.
The problem is that if you're a good player, like these are the micro decisions that you have to make. If you're in kind of an average Joe player, you're looking at the results from Charlotte and you're like, okay, I'm going to play Buzzwole, or I'm going to play Zoroark Lycanroc, or I'm going to play, something that did really well
Charlotte.
in Charlotte. Yeah, but honestly, I think maybe the best play right now is just sticking with like Joey's Greninja list.
Like,
And
or
you
not
just
even
start
that, but if you're not playing the Greninja list, like if you weren't playing Mew or Mew EX or even Mewtwo before, now's probably the time to start playing those cards.
Mm-hmm. But you can start, with Greninja, you can start taking out those Riolus on the
See,
bench.
the thing is though, Riolu has 70 HP.
Yeah, it's a pretty beefy Pokemon.
So it's a lot harder for like Lucario has a better Greninja matchup than like Lycanroc does simply because of that.
Yeah, so I do think that things are going to be a little different.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so let's imagine for a second that Portland is not going to hit the 900 plus players it needs to have a 21 point day two. How many Lucarios do you think out of the top 32 we'll see?
Top 32, I think you'll see. I'm going to go with 7.
I think that's a pretty fair guess. I would say at least 7. I would guess probably a little bit more. I think for a couple of reasons. One, this card is brand new and people are super hyped on it and it's untested. And 2, the other thing with that, I guess, would be... I guess that's the only thing, is it's super untested, so a lot of people are going to play it. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Who knows? I on the flip side, like, a lot of people may just stay what they're comfortable with, Like, let's say, someone like Ian Robb, who he got 10th place in Charlotte. He won Collinsville, right? So let's say he's going to Portland. Okay, well, he played the same list of Glycopod, Lurantis at both tournaments. He'll, like, someone like him may just go in with the same deck. Like, I'm just using him as an example, but there's probably a lot of people who are just going to say, okay, I'm just going to play the same 60. No, I'm not going to worry about Lucario. So who knows? Could be nuts.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure there's going to be like that one card, like the Barbicle that comes out. Is that how you pronounce it?
Barbarical, I think.
Barbarical. That is a psychic type that somehow hits for 210 or whatever the magic number is to knock out Lucario. That we're not thinking of because we don't have enough experience. But there will be some type of better player than us who is like, oh, I'm just going to tech this into my deck, and then I'll be able to one-shot all the Lucarios out there.
Yeah. It'd be crazy.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if... trying to look to see if Portland is getting streamed or not. I don't see any information about whether or not it is. Have you seen anything about that?
So I'm on their website. Their website is cool, but you can't read anything because of the background picture.
Yeah, I don't see anything about it.
I don't see anything.
I guess we'll see when we get closer to it. I would assume, my assumption for this is that maybe Critical Hit would be doing this one as well, since it's obviously on the West Coast more so than they did Costa Mesa. Yeah. And they've been doing most of the West Coast ones. But we'll see. I hope it is. Again, I'm surprised that the official stream isn't happening for something like this, but I don't get to make those decisions.
Yeah, and I don't see anything, so I guess I don't know.
So maybe nothing has been announced yet, but that's Portland.
I got one more place I'm going to look. Yep, no idea. All right. Not sure if there's a stream. So I guess with that, then we can probably move into our next topic.
Yeah, let's go into our main topic.
So our main topic this week is all about witch hunting. And the term witch hunting, at least when brought into the Pokemon trading card game, means calling out a person or a player for foul play, cheating, some sort of suspicious activity. And I'm not going to call anyone out as far as being called out or witch hunted or anyone for making these kinds of posts. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the idea behind it all. When is the right time to do it? Should it be done at all? So we've, for the last, I don't know, it feels like every single tournament, at least in this year, there has come up with some sort of post about someone cheating with all sorts of accusations from people on every side of the story about what is going on, what is not going on. And we've seen a lot. We've seen a few players, banned this year, and a lot of players disqualified this year for things. So as far as I can say, as far as I know, all right, we can even say really that judges and staff have done a much better job this year than in years previous at making the right calls when it comes to players who are doing the wrong things. So I guess that's just a side note. But I guess what I want to know, Danny, is your thoughts, I guess, for starters, behind witch hunting. Is this the right thing for people to do?
I think to an extent it is, but it depends on the situation and it depends on the approach of how things are, of how you handle, the quote unquote witch hunt. So basically, if somebody has a history of cheating or shady activity in the past, whether it be on stream or whether it be in real life, that you were going against a player and you had a situation come up where they were either slow playing or double attaching or playing two supporters in a turn, it's one thing to call them out in a public setting in the future. Just because I think it's important for the community to be brought to light about those specific incidents and those specific events. Now, I think that it's one way to go about it and post something like, hey, this guy's clearly cheating. Look at him do this. Look at him do this. It's another thing to be like, hey, just wanted to throw this up here. Looks like this person double attached on stream. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it was intentional? Do you think based on the situation or based on the circumstances that it was purely unintentional? And then if you bring that up, it can warrant good conversation. So I don't think that you should approach witch hunting as far as like an attacking sort of measure, but I do think it's important for the community to be made aware of certain individuals and certain people who have had a history of kind of shady things. Mm-hmm. Because there's people who have cheated in the past, like, Michael Long, for example, Zhao, who has been banned from the game. He's not allowed to play anymore indefinitely, who to this day will say, no, I didn't cheat. I had no idea. This has never happened, even though there have been literally several incidents that have been called out before where he has had shady practices happen to him. So if those weren't brought to light, maybe the community wouldn't have been paying as much attention to it, and maybe things would have gone unnoticed. So it's important to bring those things up to the community in a public setting. And it also gives the person who is being kind of called out a chance to remedy the situation. They can give their defense to it. Like if it was, let's say, a top 8 match that was streamed, like, oh, I was just under the pressure. I honestly didn't remember. It was an honest mistake. There's 5 minutes that go by between me attaching the first time and me attaching the second time. Like, honest mistakes do happen, even from good players. And I truly believe that even if you are a pro player, like, you're constantly thinking moves and moves ahead. And if you're stuck in a situation where you just weren't expecting your opponent to do something and you've got to kind of regroup and rethink, you can get a little flustered here and there, especially because there's a lot of money on the line. With that being said, though, there's a lot of money on the line. So that gives people more incentive because the prize penalties or the penalties are not as severe as what they need to be or what they should be. So if they do get caught cheating or they do get caught double attaching, if you're going to lose the game anyways, getting caught double attaching and losing a prize or getting a game loss for that isn't the end of the world because you're going to lose anyway. But if it does pay off and you get away with it, that could ultimately swing the game into your favor and let you win the match as well as $5,000. So I think that the incentive is there to do it, and the penalty is not severe enough to not do it. And a lot of players kind of pick up on that, and that's when they start having these shady practices and things that they shouldn't be doing. Because greed takes over, and human nature takes over, and then you lose yourself in a game without even thinking about the repercussions, because to you, the immediate repercussion isn't necessarily severe enough. So I do think witch hunting is decent if you're going to do it in a proper way.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a line that I feel like can be crossed and definitely has been crossed by the accusers, let's call them, for sure. So I do have I got another question. One thing that you said, is like you do believe that some of these are honest mistakes, even from good players. I have made honest mistakes before, but I've never done anything that would be considered cheating, I guess. Never in a tournament setting have I tried to play two supporters or double attach an energy or searched my deck for a card that I wasn't supposed to search for or whatever, like even on accident. And I'm bad. And there are people who literally play this game every single day. There are people who do this professionally. There are people who do this for a living. One person I want to call out specifically, Michael Pramawat. He has won 7 regionals. He has never, ever been called out for something like this. What's the difference between Michael Pramawat doing it 7 times and someone else doing it once, twice, or 6 times and being called out for it constantly?
I mean, we can't say for sure that Michael Pramawat has never double attached or played 2 supporters in one turn before. Like, I'm not a good player by any means whatsoever, but I mean, I've had issues, I guess, like, firsthand, where I tried to set up under Wobbuffet, and that was it was clearly unintentional and completely unintentional, and I realized it, like, as soon as I put it down.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the pressure can kind of take over in certain situations. Now, I'm not saying that every single good player who double attaches or plays 2 supporters is doing it unknowingly. Like, I do think there's certain situations where some players out there, and they're big players, will purposely double attach, or they will end bait, or they will do something, wait a few minutes, shuffle a lot of cards around, do something to disrupt what's going on in the game to kind of put you off of your focus, and then play another supporter with the full intent of knowing that they're going to do it. Like, I do think that does happen. I don't think it necessarily happens all the time, and I think there's certain times when better players do it accidentally. It's kind of a warning sign almost to be like, hey, they're kind of accustomed to doing this so much that they'll do it accidentally also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's another way to look at things too. I don't necessarily think that every good player is beyond mistakes, because even good players like Igor will say, yeah, you know what, I've done stuff before accidentally, just getting lost in the pressure, getting lost in the moment, a lot of time going by, not thinking. I will agree that playing 2 energy or double playing 2 supporters it's very, very difficult for you not to remember that you played 1 already. I've never had a top 8 match on stream at a regional event with 1,000 people and $5,000 on the line, so I haven't been in that circumstance before. But it is something that even novice players, I think, should remember that they've done or haven't done. I guess I don't necessarily have a good answer for that question, because part of me does want to believe in the greater good of people, and I do want to believe that, hey, mistakes can happen even from professionals or even from really good players. But yeah, I do agree that it's not something that a good player should be doing when a novice player doesn't do it.
And like you said it exactly, you know, I'm not trying to sit here and say that I've been in that situation because I haven't. I don't know what it's like. I've never been on a streamed match. I've never played in a top 8 at a regional. I've never played and done well in a 1,000 person tournament. Now, I can sit here and say that, you know, professionals do make mistakes. That's absolutely every single day, all the time. However, it's just hard, really, really hard to believe that you do it once, okay, but then you do it again, all right. You know, okay, 2 mistakes, whatever, but then 3 and 4 and 5. At what point, you know, is it done being sloppy play and it's cheating? Like, where can you draw that line? Now, we got to remember, cheating requires intent, right? And we've had this discussion, I feel like, a lot, you know, but cheating requires intent. We all know that. But I mean, there's got to be a point where if we've seen someone do something 5 times on stream, imagine how many times they've played off stream. You know, so you do the math on someone that plays on stream. Let's just say, I'm just going to pick a name out of just someone like Rahul Reddy, right? Someone like Rahul who gets streamed probably almost every single tournament he goes to, at least once. So let's say somewhere between 3 and 10% of his matches are streamed. And now let's say that, and I'm not trying to call him out for anything, I'm just using it as an example. Let's say that his matches over the course of 6 months, 3 times he gets caught misplaying or sloppily playing on stream. Is that too much, or is that, you know, like, is that a period that's long enough to believe that sloppy mistakes are still not cheating?
See, my main issue is with a lot of these really, really good players. They play hundreds, thousands of matches. Like when we did the interview with Tord, he had said he played that deck how many times?
Like
it was
like 5,000. Something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous amount of times with that deck. You are getting to the point where you are playing against every deck so many times that the game is more muscle memory than it is, you know, it just comes off of memory, how to deal with every single situation. Mm-hmm. Every unique circumstance that happens is how you deal with that specific situation. So when it comes to muscle memory and starting to realize, okay, this person did this, I'm playing against Zorak Lycanroc. Okay, this person, you know, they bloodthirsty eyes up my blank, and I need to combat that somehow. This is the exact situation, remembering every single matchup that I played, how to combat that. Like when you're coming to muscle memory, and muscle memory is imploring you to play 2 supporters in a turn or attach 2 energy in a turn, that's what's scary to me. Mm-hmm. Because that means if your muscle memory is telling you to do that, that means that your muscle memory is basing it off of experiences that weren't on stream or weren't in those specific situations, you know, of top 8 or for $5,000. These are situations that happened during, you know, Swiss, or that happened during a League Cup, or that happened during just a league. And that's what's scary to me. So I do think when you get to a pro level, you know, if there's a certain circumstance, and that's why these streams are so important, because if you're right, if somebody like Rahul does go to 6 events over the course of 2 months, and he gets caught, you know, double attaching on stream 3 times, and if it's the same issue each time, then that needs to throw up huge red flags to TPCI as, hey, this is a big issue right now, because it's the same thing that's happening. It's not like a Greninja that falls to the lap and then, you know, double attaching. You know, it's the same thing.
And like, so for what it's worth, Rahul, we are not calling him out. We are only using him as an example because he is someone who is on stream a lot.
Yeah, and we love Rahul. So.
Absolutely. So we're not trying to badmouth him or say anything bad about him. He knows that it's all in good faith. So, but what it's frustrating. It definitely is frustrating to see so many players get, like, I think the other thing that the community as a whole needs to understand and realize that is that nobody is untouchable. And if for any reason you think that someone is untouchable, stop.
But is that the mindset?
I feel like that is a lot of the mindset.
I don't know if it is. Right? Wait, what are you saying? That the mindset is that nobody's untouchable?
No, I feel like people think that there are those that are untouchable.
You mean as far as calling people out?
Yeah, like, I feel like there are people out there who are afraid to say something because,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yes. Because they're afraid that they're going to get, like, they're witch hunting and then they're going to get blasted by the community.
They're going to get blasted by the community and they're going to get copy pasted into PTCG hell 30 times and all this other stuff. And don't. If you, like, whether or not you are right or wrong, if you have any sort of suspicion, you got to say something. Because, like, now I'm not sitting here and saying, call out every single, oh, my opponent, he accidentally, laid out 7 prize cards and then put one of them back in his deck or something stupid, like whatever. He, there are a lot of things. I'm not saying call it every little minor mistake that your opponent makes, but I mean, if there's something super blatant, like, I'm not sitting here and telling you to post it all over Facebook and Twitter for everyone to see, but tell someone, ask someone, like, hey, what's this? I don't know.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that. I think that my main concern, or one of my main concerns also is when it comes to untouchables. Like, I feel like there's almost people in the community who have made such a impact on the game already that they are almost untouchable by the company, and that's why they're able to get away with a lot more. And that's why it's important with what Dan was saying as far as banding together as a community and eliminating, calling out these specific situations in good faith, like in a good manner, like do it smart, because that's going to generate good conversation about it, and it's going to generate a lot more respect from your peers, and in turn, then that's going to result in a lot of people paying closer attention to just calling somebody out randomly and throwing all these different insults and calling names and bullying almost to an extent, because then you're really just becoming part of a problem and not necessarily a solution to the problem.
Yes. So exactly. If I feel like if you think there's suspicion, like, ask about it. Don't blow something up like out of proportion. Just ask. Like, hey, my opponent accidentally drew 8 cards off of a sycamore. Now, he didn't look at all 8 cards. He only looked at put one of them back on top of his deck. So he only ever technically drew 7 cards, and the 8th card was back on top of the deck, exactly where it belonged. Don't go, blowing that up, because he didn't draw 8 cards. Now, like, ask about it, sure, if you think something's weird, but don't call your opponent out for cheating, because that's not cheating. Just an example, but I feel like too many people are afraid to say something, and like witch hunting, as far as I'm concerned, as long as it's done correctly, I am for it until the cheating is gone.
So you will always be for it.
Unfortunately, you're probably right.
I think we're both on the same page.
Awesome. Well, with that then, how about we jump into our weekly top 5?
Weekly top 5.
So this week I wanted to talk about, because this had partly to do with question of the week a little bit. We'll read a little bit later about the question of the week, but I just wanted to go through and talk about, so we're going to be rotation, I think, like for standard rotation. I don't think that anyone is going to sit here and try to tell us any differently when they say that the next rotation is going to be Sun and Moon base set on, which at the point of rotation, I believe, will be through what? It'll be through, what's the new set coming out? Forbidden Light, and then there's one more. What's after that? The dragon one. What's that called again?
I honestly don't even remember.
All right, well, the dragon one it'll be Sun and Moon through the dragon set. So the top 5 cards that we are going to miss from standard... Dragon Storm, that's it. The top 5 cards we are going to miss from standard once they rotate.
Wait, standard? I thought you wrote expanded.
What? Why would I write expanded? We don't know that expanded's getting rotated. Top 5 cards you miss when standard rotates. I definitely wrote standard.
You did. Well, I'm gonna also do standard. And pretend like I didn't write expanded cards down. When I read it, I was like, we don't even know that expanded's gonna rotate. That's an interesting top 5.
All right. Well, I'll let you. I'll let you start then, Danny. What's your number 5?
No, you have to start now.
Oh,
Because I just
what?
need to copy everything that you said.
Oh, all right. Number 5, Volcanion EX.
Number 5, Professor Sycamore.
Oh, you're gonna miss that card, huh? I don't think I'm going to. I don't think
I'll miss it.
I don't think I'm gonna miss Sycamore. All right. How about number 4, Espeon EX?
My number 4 is Octillery.
Interesting. My number 3 is Octillery.
My number 3 is Gallade.
Did we get out of order? Maybe we did. Anyways, no, I started. We're right. Okay.
You started. Yep.
So my number 2, you guys. And now this is not really like a super good card in standard anymore, but Rainbow Road Xerneas.
Oh, nice. My number 2 is Max Elixir.
Oh. And then my number 1 will be Bridget.
Ooh, good one. My number 1 is Floatstone.
Interesting. We do lose Floatstone. Oh. Well, that was a good
There's a
top
lot
5.
of. We need more trainers to come out.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So,
Like more staple trainers. Otherwise, it's just going to be Ultra Ball and Cynthia and maybe some choice bands.
yeah. I like choice bands.
It's interesting because like Evo Soda has gone up a lot in price too.
Oh, wow.
That's
Yuso
obviously
is
gonna
gone.
rotate out.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It'll be a slower game.
Yeah.
I mean, Zoroark will still be around, but it'll still be a slower game. So, but I mean, we've been asking the game to slow down forever, like since
And
Roaring
now-
Skies.
Yeah. Zoroark definitely sped it up a little bit again
Yeah,
to the point where you can get through your deck pretty quickly.
but losing Sycamore and Evo Soda and just other things, Bridget will definitely like it'll slow down.
Yeah. How do you start a game?
How did we start before Bridget?
I don't even remember. Was there a time before GXs and Bridget?
Well, yeah, you use just huge EXs, right? Hoopa EX.
Hoopa EX.
Yeah. Crazy.
Turn 1.
All right. Well, you guys, Darren is not with us. So I guess this week I will be in charge of Question of the Week. And our question this week for all you listeners out there was, do you hope Pokemon rotates expanded? And if so, what set would you like it to rotate to and why? I am going to start out reading these answers from our Facebook page. Make sure to go like us on Facebook. You can just type in to your web address bar, facebook.com/deaddrawgaming. It'll lead you right there. Our first answer comes from Riley, who says XY on just because. Great answer. Love it. Stephen Matt says XY on, it's the next big airline. Expanded is getting too big. Then we got Richard, who says if they do rotate, add a third format would be nice. Evan says heck no. Troy says XY on because expanded stinks. I also didn't start till XY, so expanded is scary to me. I feel like that's a really big thing. Like,
That is for a lot of people. I
yeah,
think.
with the amount.
The evolutions boom, like how many people came in during that time.
Yeah, because how many people started like with the last set of X and Y? And so you basically have 2 whole blocks of cards that you never played with. So it's pretty crazy. And then the last answer on Facebook from Gavin says no in all capitals with an exclamation point. So he definitely does not want a rotation. Then let's move on over to our Twitter. And Twitter, our first reply from DDG Brett Stratton. Hey, I know that guy. He says, personally, I just want expanded gone. It feels like the game becomes more demanding when there are 2 formats to focus on. If they kept it, I think a Sun Moon on rotation should come. which is fully expected. I like the idea of rotating to the next block after a few years. Our next answer from at Charizard Lounge reads, no, I hope Expanded remains black-white on into infinity. I think they just need to curate their ban list better and remove severely unbalanced or toxic cards from the card pool, such as Zoroark GX and Trevenant. Then there's a lot of conversation on that between Mia and the Charizard Lounge. And then the next answer comes from Mia. At Mia Boo says, Expanded is fine, IMO. Most of the problems, at least for me, come from the sort of misshapen monstrosity that it is now become. You either play the Hurricane or you try to control the Hurricane, period. If there were more vigilant errata and bannings, Expanded could grow. And then the next one, our next answer on Twitter from at Tamani_TCG says, I think we're reaching the point where an XY on Expanded format could be different enough from Standard. And then our last answer on Twitter from at CuriousCleffa reads, I want it to rotate so much that the Expanded format is gone and we only play in the Standard format for all tournaments. Then, moving on into our ever-growing Discord channel, which you can be a part of if you are A, one of our patrons on Patreon, B, a subscriber on twitch.tv/deaddrawgaming, or C, a member of our pro team. So the first answer here comes from Papa Blastoise. Says yes, he wants it to rotate. If it does, XY on. Then from DLTA Zerthon, he says, I hope Pokemon doesn't rotate Standard. Having a large card pool could allow for lots of creativity and diversity as long as the format is managed properly. Now, he said Standard. I have a feeling that he meant Expanded and just typed Standard.
Maybe he meant,
or maybe he
meant
just wants,
he
maybe he just wants a bigger card pools for both formats.
He just wants rotation not to happen at all.
Yeah, definitely could be a thing. Then from DDG Chris, no, but it will probably go XY on. Then our next answer from Alfred FTW reads, Australia only uses Expanded for local leagues so that kids can use whatever they want without having to enforce strict deck requirements, so I do not know anything about it. However, that being said, a reset on Expanded might get more people into it, as it is currently rather pricey to enter from scratch. And the last answer from Colin Lube reads, I hope it does not, because without Laser, Toad Viper is ruined. He must really like Toad Viper.
I guess so.
So, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I personally do not believe that TPCI will rotate Expanded. I also personally do not want them to rotate Expanded. What I do think, I have two ideas. I don't know that both of them will work, but I have two ideas. One, make a third format and call it Expanded. Okay, make a new format. All right, keep Expanded, but have it go where, you know what? No, as I'm saying this out loud, I'm changing my mind. Add a third format. Add the Hall of Fame format. Make rotate Expanded every other year into the next set, or every 3 years or whatever. Okay, remove the whole block from 3 years ago. So Expanded now becomes XY on. And then you add the Hall of Fame format, which is Diamond Pearl on, and Diamond Pearl on never changes. That format, Hall of Fame, or what are we calling it over here? I can't even remember. Palace format. That becomes a new sanctioned format. Now, along with that, you do it in a different way. You have championship points. You add more tournaments, and you add championship points to these different tournaments, but you have different thresholds for all of them, right? So let's say that there is a Worlds tournament that you can get from just playing Standard tournaments, and then there is another Worlds tournament that you can qualify just for Expanded tournaments, and then another one just for Palace.
Is the game big enough to warrant that, do you think?
Not yet.
Okay.
I don't know that it'll ever get that big. But let's look at Magic, for example, right? How many different formats are there in Magic? You got Standard, you have, what do they call it, Modern, you have Legacy, you have Vintage. There are 4, Commander, I think, is a sanctioned format. There's at least 5 sanctioned formats. Now, to be fair, Magic is way bigger than Pokemon. It's huge. It's always been the biggest trading card game. Pokemon's definitely becoming more of a mainstream game, and a lot more people are playing it. I don't know that you could warrant more than one Worlds tournament yet. However, I think that if the game continues to see the growth that it has right now, that is definitely something that Nintendo and Pokemon could look at Wizards and say, you know what, hey, let's do that.
I want Expanded just to stay the same.
I also think that Japan printed a Best of XY, right? And Magic prints Modern Master sets.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe once a year they just need to print a set where you have cards like Execute and the different Zoruas that you'd use for Zoroark and Seismitoad EX and Burbank City Gym and just some of these different cards that see a lot of play in, Expanded, and you allow them to become more available to the players that are coming into the game. Maybe there's your solution.
Maybe just keep Expanded the way it is, and I don't know. We'll see how broken it gets, but monitor it, and if you have to ban cards from Expanded that are legal and standard, then you do that.
Mm-hmm.
I like having a wide variety of decks. I understand why it might be intimidating for some people, but there's a lot of people that you can get your invite just by going to standard stuff.
Well, especially with how many tournaments there are now. What do we got? It's like 16 regionals this year, or 14 something. It doesn't matter. It's a lot. It's a ton. We used to have 8? It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So that's all the answers. I guess with that, we can move into our buy, sell, trade of the week.
Do you want to ask a question of the week for next week?
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's ask a question of the week for next week.
Okay. So this is a little bit relevant for a specific reason, which we'll get into in a second. But I want to know, as a collector or player, what would it take for you to sell off everything? So it could either be like just a pure dislike of the game, lack of interest completely, and you'll get rid of everything, and you're like, I'm never going to get into it again. For me, it was because I got married, and then because I bought a house. So sold everything with the full intent that I would get back into the game eventually and have to buy things back. But at the time, those specific events were more important. I want to know what it would take for you to get rid of everything. Would it be like, you better offer me $50,000 or you're not getting my 18 Zoroark GXs that I have?
I think this is a tricky question.
It is.
People, whether they believe it or not, will put a price on everything.
Yeah, everything has a price. What is your price to get completely out of the game? What do we, as Dead Jaw Gaming, have to do to get all of your cards?
Oh, and with this one, for all of you who answer the question of the week without needing a post to answer it, please keep your answers PG friendly, or they will be deleted from all of our posts and not read. But I do like that question. I think it's interesting. So it's definitely something interesting to talk about. So
yeah. All right. Well, moving into the buy sell trade of the week, which we had a little bit more than what I was anticipating originally. If you would have asked me last week, I would have been like, oh, we're just going to sell a bunch of stuff, which we did do. Sold a lot of stuff. One fun story is I sold some stuff, and a person messaged me, and they're like, hey, you live in Jackson? And I said, yeah. And they said, I live in Jackson. So I didn't know anybody else lived in Jackson, much less people who lived in Jackson who also played Pokemon. So that was interesting. So I was able to go to my local grocery store and meet up and hand deliver these. And we each drove like 2 miles to meet up and deliver stuff. So that was cool.
nice.
Yeah. So I did sell quite a bit, mostly singles, because on Thursday night, I think, a good friend of ours, his name is Sam, decided it was time that he was going to stop playing the game. He's got a lot of other stuff going on, and he's buying a house, so congratulations to him. But he messaged me up and he said, "Hey, I think this is it for me. Do you have interest in buying all of my stuff?" And I said, "Sure, send me pictures and I'll take a look at it and let you know what I can do." So he got a bunch of pictures of his ultra rares and just gave me counts of like, these are the amount of bulk GXs I have, this is the amount of bulk Pokemon I have, and these are more of the highlights of the collection. So I came to terms with him, and on Saturday, rather than having him ship it, he was able to give the cards all to Papa Blastoise, who actually ended up having to come to Wisconsin on Saturday with his wife to pick something else up. So I got in my car on Saturday afternoon and drove 2 hours and met up with Papa and Mrs. Papa and took all of Sam's cards from him. And I've basically been sorting and selling ever since I've got them because there's a lot of them. So Sam had a very, very large collection, and it was a very expensive purchase, but very worthwhile. So that was a big, big, big buy of the week. Typically, if you're looking to dump a collection, we typically pay between 50 and 60% retail, depending on what's all in there. Sometimes we'll pay a little bit more, depending on what the cards are and how easy to turn them it is. Otherwise, sometimes we might pay a little bit less if you're like, "Oh, I'm going to sell you 18 Fighting Fury belts." Well, first of all, you're selling us a card that's going to be rotating in a few months. Secondly, you're selling us a card that is not going to be used a whole lot and expanded anymore. So, it really just depends on what you're offering and what's in there that makes economical sense. The one buy that I'm actually kind of more excited about is I was looking on, there's an app on your phone called Mercari, which is Mercari, which sometimes I'll look at to buy cards. And as I was scrolling through, I saw a Rockets Entei EX that somebody was selling in near mint condition, and they wanted $14 for it. And I haven't looked at Rockets Entei EX in a while, so I looked it up, and I saw that damaged ones were selling for like 30. So I'm like, yep.
Scoop-de-whoop.
Yep, so that one's going to be a really tough one for me to sell because, first of all, it's Entei. But we'll get it in, and I guess we'll sell it to make that profit. Yep, we'll see how it looks up close and personal. But that was it for the buy sell trade of the week. I also actually got back onto TCG Player, started putting up a bunch of singles on TCG Player, a bunch of stuff that is a little bit more difficult to move in the market for full retail value that does a lot better when you have this. The great thing about TCG Player is, while the fees aren't fun, it has a much larger base of as far as an audience goes, so you're more likely to get closer to retail for certain items than you are if you sell on like a website or Facebook or something like that. So went into TCG Player, and we've got a few hundred cards listed on there now. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's our buy sell trade of the week. Lots of good stuff. Lots of stuff coming in. I haven't even shot in my vlog yet for this week because I've been doing literally nothing but sorting. And what I want to do for this week's vlog is I want to lay out all of the ultra rares that we have, just so people can get an idea of like where we started from to where we are now, and just kind of go through, hey, this is where we're at now. This is kind of what inventory looks like from an ultra rare standpoint as far as what we carry, knowing that this still isn't even enough yet.
Dude, we used to fit all of our ultra rares into 2 binders.
Now we can't even use a 3K box to hold them. Like now I've got them all separated into 1K boxes based on like full art EXs, regular EXs, full art GXs, regular GXs, secret rares, full art trainers. Like they all have their own 1K box now because there's so many of them.
Wow.
It's crazy. With that, we can move into our open discussion. I've been doing some work here and there, getting things ready with content providers, and I've been talking a lot with Jimmy Ballard to work out the final floor plan for Madison, so I really like how that's going. We've got a good section of Madison as far as Dead Draw Gaming is concerned. We will have a team table there, we will have a streaming area, and we will have a vendor booth, and it will be very noticeable when you walk in the doors. So I've been doing that. Other than that, I don't think I have a whole lot for open discussion because a lot of the stuff that I was going to say kind of tied in with my buy-sell trade. So I can pass the buck off to Dan.
Yeah, so I have been doing, I guess, some more streaming recently. I'm trying to get back into it with at least, an hour or two every single day. Barring that I'm home and at my computer. We had a good, solid 5 hours today. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. So I've been enjoying that because obviously, we want to push that as hard as we can going into Madison. So I've been doing that. That's really the only thing I have. I do have one mention. We did receive an email from a listener named Tyler. Tyler, I just want to let you know that email is very well received. I want to give you a quick little shout out. Thank you so much for all the kind words. It means a lot. And with that, I'm done with my open discussion.
Cool. All right. Well, next week we'll be back again with hopefully Darren.
Hopefully,
we
Dan.
missed him tonight.
Sure did.
And with that, you can take us home, Dan.
All right. So, you guys, if you enjoyed episode number 76 of Dead Draw Gaming, a Pokemon TCG podcast like no one ever was, make sure to hit that like button down below and share this podcast with all of your friends. Make sure to check us out next week with Darren and with also a recap of what happens this week in Portland, all the new Pokemon news that comes out, and much more. But that is all we have for you this week. So, for Danny and for myself, Dan, we will see you next time.